Mike Dell's World number 232 for November 19th, 2015. And today I was going to answer a few questions that some listeners have had about the Traverse City podcast, which is no longer. And I understand from, Jerry Shriver there in Nebraska. He emailed me today and said that he found this on Stitcher under the Traverse City podcast. So apparently when I shut down traversecitypodcast.com and redirected the domain to MikeDell.com, it picked up the feed as well. So great. I'm getting listeners from Stitcher on the Traverse City podcast listing over there. So very cool. And I just wanted to explain why the Traverse City podcast is no longer. And it's not because it's not a good idea. It's because when you podcast, you gotta be passionate about the topic. And I am passionate about Traverse City, but I'm also passionate about the rest of northern Michigan. And Traverse City podcast kind of pigeonholed me into talking about just Traverse City. Well, there's a lot more to northern Michigan than just Traverse City. I've got friends all over northern Michigan, and I travel a lot. So, I get to Marquette, I get to Sault Ste. Marie, I get to Alpena quite a bit. I get to Tawas, West Branch, Gaylord, Grayling, Wolverine, Sheboygan, Charlevoix, Petoskey. I'm all over northern Michigan, Cadillac. And yeah, those of you that don't live in Michigan, there is a town called Cadillac. And no, that's not where Cadillacs are made. That town was named after somebody named Cadillac. I know that's terrible, but I don't know the whole story behind that. Maybe I'll have to look that up. But the town came before the car. Actually, the town was named Cadillac way before the automobile was named Cadillac. And, Cadillac automobiles were built, in the Detroit area and still are. Lansing, Detroit, all over southern Michigan. And, of course, Cadillac is up here in northern Michigan. So it's a fairly decent-sized town, maybe 15,000 people, I'm guessing. It's not super, how would I put that? It's not considerably smaller than Traverse City. It is smaller than Traverse City, and the Grand Traverse area is much bigger. But the actual city of Traverse City and the city of Cadillac are probably pretty close to the same size and same population. But like I said, the area around Traverse City is more built up than Cadillac, and that's generally why Traverse City is the big town and Cadillac is not. But it's a neat area. But yeah, that's the gist of it. I don't plan on doing Traverse City podcast as a standalone, but I have changed the tagline over at MikeDell.com, and I'll bring it up so I can read what I wrote. In the tagline, it says Mike Dell's World Podcast and Blog from Mike Dell in Northern Michigan. And then I put a dash and changed it to the Traverse City Podcast. So I am going to do somewhat what I was going to do with the Traverse City Podcast inside this podcast, but I'm going to spread the love to all of Northern Michigan and the UP. And not every show, as I'm doing this National Podcast Posting Month, I'm getting these things out way more often than I normally would. Usually it's 1 or 2 weeks between episodes on Mike Dell's World. And, no, I'm not going to make any promises. I'm not going to make any schedules. But when the mood strikes me, I'm going to have a longer show about what's going on in somewhere in Michigan, or maybe the history of something, kind of like what I did with the Mackinac Bridge and the Edmund Fitzgerald. And, of course, If you want to go over to geekofthenorth.com, which will redirect you over to the Modern Life Podcast Network, we'll have my latest episode there where I talked all about Great Lakes shipping. So you might be interested in that if you're interested in that kind of thing. I'm not sure what I'm going to do for the next Geek of the North, but tomorrow I'll be back with another one of these for Podcast Posting Month, National Podcast Posting Month. And I think I've talked about it in previous episodes, but basically that just means I'm going to put out 30 episodes in 30 days. They won't be all on this one. Some of them will be on Podcast Help Desk. Some of them will be on the Geek of the North. And there's actually going to be 2 on other shows. Not shows that I do, but shows that I'm going to be guest hosting or just plain old guesting on. But I'll make sure that all of them get listed in the post on the 30th. So that I can verify that I have indeed podcasted 30 days or 30 times in 30 days, which is the gist of it. And besides that, it's kind of fun. It's actually kind of late in the evening. It's about 9:30. My wife has to work early tomorrow morning, so I'm down here in the basement, and she went off to bed. And tomorrow I've got a bunch of appointments, but not any actual working time, except for I do have one consult call tomorrow afternoon, but that shouldn't take too long, and that'll be good. So with that, I'm going to call this an episode. And by the way, I did figure out what the problem was, and I think I mentioned it in yesterday's episode, but I did figure out what the problem was with my digital recorder, and then I realized that I didn't know how to fix it. It wasn't the cord that I thought was bad. It was another thing, and I'll tell you all about that in Podcast Help Desk, out tomorrow as well. Catch me later.